TIL, a local folk remedy in Boho, Ireland, was to place soil from the local church under a pillow while you slept to cure infections. In 2018, a microbiologist found the churchyard soil contains a previously unknown strain of streptomyces which can be used to create antibiotics. Reminds me of Angel's Glow, which is when Civil War soldiers' wounds glowed in the dark and healed faster because of a bioluminescent bacteria that produced an antibiotic. Rub some dirt on it. Pharmaceutical companies used to give their employees vials so that they could collect soil samples from wherever they happened to be. Vancomycin was isolated from soil collected in Borneo, sent to Lille by a missionary. Streptomycin was found in a soil sample from a New Jersey parking lot. Soil is rich in bacteria, which is really where the antibiotic molecules are being produced. There is a spring in Ireland said to have beneficial effects for people who are off with the fairies. Turns out the water is high in lithium, an effective treatment for bipolar disorder. Checkmate, atheists. How does sleeping with dirt under your pillow that has some antibiotics on them help at all? Don't you need to ingest them or get them in your system somehow? Edit, invest to *ingest. This particular organism doesn't just produce one antibiotic, it actually produces 10, 20 antibiotics in one organism. And we haven't just found one organism, we found something like 10 organisms. This sounds very promising. When I was 18, I visited Northern Ireland with my high school friend. We were playing catch in the yard and I missed a ball. I picked it up, and unbeknownst to me, it was in nettles. My hand stung like hell. His grandmother found out about this, went to a different part of the yard and found some seemingly random leaves. She broke them and rubbed them on my hands and it was a nearly instant relief. She told me nature had a cure for everything. It was amazing. This article made me think of her. Thanks. That sounds very similar to ancient methods of brewing beer or mead. The brewer had a magic stick they would use to stir the wort that would begin the fermentation process. The stick just happened to have yeast colonies that were adapted to the brew from being used many times before. So, who was the first one to just put soil under their pillow and tell everybody it cured them? Till we have a place called Boho in Ireland. There was also a holy well in Kerry, the water said to cure anxiety and mental illness. They did tests and found that the well is a natural lithium spring. I come from an Irish family. When I was young I had warts, skin tags, on my hand and knee. My mother had me bury a potato in the backyard and she swore they would go away. I did and they disappeared shortly thereafter. It kinda blew my mind. Priest is like, I fucking told you right, cunt. Sure, it can be used to create antibiotics. But unless sleeping in proximity to the dirt actually bestows some medicinal properties, that falls under weird coincidence. To be fair though, there are over 500 species of streptomyces, they account for over 2/3 of the clinically useful antibiotics of natural origin, and are found predominantly in soil and decaying vegetation. So it was kind of like finding a needle in a needle stack. Someone claiming that the church dirt had healing power might have well said the same thing about a graveyard, the dump, or damn near any locale with dirt. So, what you're saying is they weren't wrong. It's like the Spanish figuring out placing a silver coin on a wound helped it heal. Little did they realize silver has antibacterial properties leading to better healing. This story reminds me of a similar piece of folklore in the southwest of Ireland. A place called Glen na Ngilt, Valley of the Mad, in County Kerry, where it was believed for hundreds of years that mental disorders could be cured by drinking water from the well in the valley. Turns out that when scientists tested the water they found high lithium levels. https://www. irishtimes.com/news/health/recovering-well1. I'm reminded of that Irish comedian whose name escapes me. Well, we tried all that, we tried all the herbal medicines, and the ones that worked became medicine. Scientists are digging through old potion recipes to recreate and study their medicinal benefits, and they are commonly finding previously undocumented new antibiotic drugs. https://www. PopSci. Ancient medical remedy works against modern resistant bacteria / Think of the classic witch, speaking spells over a cauldron brewing. It looks sinister and most people assume it's like a magic spell or somehow nefarious or mystical. In reality, they are depicting medieval medicine making. Throughout the vast majority of human history, humans didn't have watches. They couldn't time things precisely, so how do you make a recipe where nobody knows how long a minute is? You tell them to recite common prayers that most people would know in multiples that make up the cooking time for the potion you're making. Furthermore, there are tons of naturally occurring remedies that we just don't know about in Western science because they've never been properly studied. I went to this remote village in northern Thailand, hours away from the nearest city, where people would smear the sap from a special tree on any wounds they might get. The sap somehow rapidly accelerates the healing process and villagers say they're usually back to normal in a week or two from most cuts and non-critical open wounds. Nobody's ever been out to study the tree, it's just there and the locals use it the way their ancestors used it. There are things like that all over the world, but our knowledge of the natural world is still so tiny compared to how much there is yet to study. If you bowl enough you're bound to strike 300 eventually. Not far from Skibbereen is Loch Hyne, which has a natural well by it called something like Toibaran na Sul, the well of the eyes. For hundreds of years people have claimed it improved their eyesight. No idea if it's true, but I washed my eyes with it anyway, and didn't need glasses until I was 55, 25 years later. So, the folk remedy never actually worked? I mean, putting antibiotics under your pillow doesn't cure your infection. Well, that's just plain weird. Kinda reminds me of how sailors used to put silver coins in the water they brought with them. They didn't really know how it kept the water from spoiling, they just knew that it did. And just today I learned about spinosad, an organic insecticide discovered in 1982 at an abandoned rum distillery in the Virgin Islands. Here's a link, https://online library. wiley.com/doi/abs/10. 1002/1526-4998% 282000008% 2956% 3A8% 3C696% 3A% 3AAIDPS 182% 3E3. Co% 3B2-5, to a published paper specifically discussing useful natural products being surprisingly discovered, like ops subject. If it's stupid and it works it's not stupid. Where I'm from in the villages, if you have a cold your grandma will soak your socks in plum brandy, make you wear them and put a brandy-soaked rag on your forehead. It's a grand ol' time. There needs to be a reverse Mythbusters where two skinny women go around proving people right. I'm from there, it's mad we have people come from Dublin just for some of the soil. Makes you think about how many folk remedies have some actual science behind them and not just some supernatural belief. A really interesting one like this I just read is that some anthropologists think the reason many societies had ritual cannibalism, e.g. some of the Mesoamerican cultures, was because during periods of hunger the people would have to eat corpses but there was an innate human aversion to doing so, and people would be racked by guilt, especially if you consider that many of these pre-agricultural societies were pretty small, so you might be eating your neighbor. So the priestly class would basically absolve them of their guilt over it by saying that the gods commanded it. But over time the original material purpose disappeared but the ritual survived. Checkmate atheists. So there's some real merit to that play in the dirt theory, huh? Is there a field of study related to this? I love folklore but also the historical and scientific context it originates from. So many beliefs and traditions have amazingly built stories around them with some kind of understandable phenomenon behind them.